Denture released recently, and the trains in the UK are still too expensive for the service they provide. This is a game made for me. Does third-person, on-rails Tony Hawk sound good to you? Some of you are going no. To that I say, be more correct. You are Emmy, and you deliver ramen by train for some reason. On your way to a delivery, you're spotted by a photographer who asks if you're a Denture. It's fantasy skateboarding for trains, and you say no, and he says you're a natural. And now we're doing Tony Hawk's Underground again.
Look, I gotta finish this meal before I go out to eat.
How does this end up with you fighting a giant baseball worm? Don't think about it too hard. Just think about a baseball worm. Yeah. This is one of the more normal boss fights in the game, by the way. There's also a bit of environmental politicking going on, which in my fucked up universe technically makes this a sequel to Airblade.
Pollution sucks, right?
There's a video about that on the Patreon. My day job has me actively detract from society. These are connected statements. Now I need to mention that it's a bit more third-person Ollie world for the sake of my own internal consistency, and if you're expecting something that's on the same level as Challenge, you're very much out of luck. However, the keyword that might have thrown you off there is on rails. If we boil it down to be a little bit more third-person platformer that's on rails, that might sound like a nightmare. Before playing, I had a little bit of a similar concern, even though I know I don't mind because of my previous experience. It could make every level feel very samey. The illusion of choice could break down to eventually reveal that I've been choosing left or right for 10 hours. When you're on rails, there's a possibility that you, as a player, have autonomy removed from you that makes you feel as if you're going through the motions without having to choose anything. A Hawk-like, or more accurately, a Hawk-inspired, without agency. Here's a level that takes a little over a minute. It's almost non-existent in choice because it's a tutorial stage on how rails work. I honk, and I shoo. Well, it's not, let's not be that derogatory. There's a trick system that keeps me engaged even if the combo system is pretty simple, but early on in the level though, you make this jump over a rail. Not a lot you can do about it though, because the level's on rails. You gotta keep going forward, and this was the exact point my brain went from, this is cool, to, oh god, it's peak. And then it just kept going. Denture managed to constantly push at the boundaries of what its limited concept can do. Sometimes that's throwing out a Sailor Moon mech right as your jaw hits the floor. That's flashy, it's nice, I like it, but it's not necessarily what I'm talking about. What's the point of getting a good score? The point of keeping a combo up? In Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, it's for the sake of itself, but it could be expanded further, in the way that Denture does. At the end of each level, you're given a rating for time and score, which incentivizes the player to get through a level with a certain amount of mastery. Fair enough. For the perfectionist, that's enough stick, you know, you're disincentivized from getting a bad rank, but while you're in the throes of the level, it doesn't have much carrot. A score system like this makes for rewarding the player once the level is over, not necessarily in the middle of it. Denture has a second layer of value though. Doing tricks throughout the level builds up this bar on the right side of the screen, and when it's full it unlocks new routes around the level. Where that leads changes a ton. Sometimes it's a new area for a collectible, new exits to the level that unlock onsens where you get to kind of explore character conversations. It can be as simple as a new path that wraps around on the area that you've already been in, but in a new way. The effect is that in the middle of play, you're given some of that reward for playing the game the way that it wants you to. It drives you towards perfection, and your reward is a new thing that gets to grab your attention, something to be curious about. Wonder where it leads, even if it would have been the same place that you would have ended up in anyway, but with a slightly different method than you would have expected. Perhaps this all sounds menial. Who cares about this stuff when you have Himeji Castle that got turned into a mech with a pompadour that doubles as a cannon? It's not just the big set pieces that makes Denture so quality. It's the connective tissue that holds together the entire experience that's so good it becomes invisible after a while. The combo system is pretty simple. In some sense it's not demanding, which has been a part of my problem with other games of this nature, not necessarily of this genre. Denture might be simple, but I don't think that it's simple to a fault. You're not going to drop a combo because of how easy it is to exploit, as is the case with Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. You're going to drop a combo because you're constantly being asked to make a new, correct choice. Dodge this, find the right path, read ahead, while maintaining a combo. There were several times towards the back third of the game where I've intentionally dropped combos to make sure I have a little bit more mental bandwidth for what's coming at me. You can still perfect a level without having to keep a combo going the whole way, and this is where you get a little bit of that preferential mix-up. Levels keep a track of time, score, and dares, basically objectives that the levels want from you, and whatever progress that you've made is stored individually. The result is that a level being gold doesn't necessarily necessarily mean that you've mastered the level. However, since everything is disconnected and stored individually, you don't have much of a reason to go back and actually perfect the levels. Question for yourself if you want a game you can reasonably complete, which is what Denture is, or a game that feels like a genuine achievement to perfect. If the game didn't have me hooked enough to care about getting a good rank, I wouldn't care. However, in a game that I'm enjoying enough to go back and gold the entire game, you know, eventually, I haven't done it yet, there's a feeling that I'm ticking off checkboxes, particularly if only one objective is only just outside of the perfect range. By the end of the game, you're balancing a ton of different modes of controls. There's tracks, rails, swinging skylines, loops, that all change something about how you engage with the space for a short period of time. It's the persistent flipping between how you interact with the space around you, while also dodging the obstacles in front of you and maintaining a combo on top of all of that makes Denture so exciting, not one individual piece. This is the quality of the glue, delightful, premium glue. After finishing the game, this can make the opening levels quite relaxed. You're given relatively little danger and a comfortable pace without having to engage with the whole mechanic set. It's never boring, even at its most simple, it's just comfortable. By the end of the game, it feels like the controller is starting to get a little overloaded. I was glad the game kept subverting my expectations, don't get me wrong, and it managed to ride the line for me perfectly between a lot to remember and too much to potentially expect. That was perfect for me though. I can see a lot of people getting to chapter 5 ready for the game to start wrapping up mechanically, only to get fed more and more systems. A game that does this runs the risk of having those elements start to feel like gimmicks. So not only is it an achievement how well each new mechanic blends into the pre-existing gameplay, but also how effectively boss fights implement those mechanics as more explicit gimmicks. Don't get it twisted, this is not derogatory. Every mechanic is given the room to breathe while also being put inside of an unusual context at least once that makes the bosses not only memorable, but also surprisingly natural. I was never removed from gameplay with a shift to combat. I was only ever thinking, I am Shohei Ohtani. I am him! Spectacle didn't have to come at the expense of gameplay. I'd argue some of the best levels in the game are the linear straight shots and the races where the spectacle is lower. It's just that the bosses managed to keep the core gameplay enough that I still enjoy them even when I'm able to recognize how simple some of them are. What helps is that the first playthrough has incredible pacing. Not only does the challenge escalate in a way that I found comfortable, but its variety and its mainstays are spread out to bring you along with the flow. There's 5 types of levels: linears, score attacks, objective loops, races, and bosses. You will never get tired of any of these, and it's not because there's too little to get tired of. Going through the game, it sprinkles these different types of missions over the 11 hours it took to beat, so that whatever gets put in front of you is always welcome. It knows that the linear levels are where the game shines, but can get a little bit draining in how much attention they ask from you. So they throw in a score attack, where the levels are a bit more about exploring the space without too much consequence. Because the consequence is so low though, they're never placed back to back. It's a relaxed period. It's still fun and frantic, but it's sandwiched between intensive levels to let your brain cool down a little. After all, you'll need a rest. In a second, we're gonna have the There's a lot more to feel about Denture, things that can't really be described but can be felt. Feel how fast I'm going. I can't words my way to you being fast. Name me a good book that can create a sense of speed that's compelling in any way. How much appeal this game has to people who aren't me specifically, I can't really tell. For me though, this was a 9 out of 10. Very close to a 10, but it's a 9. It's a 9. I personally wish that I had switched the VO over to Japanese a lot sooner, because the English anime voice acting, I just don't see the appeal.
You killed them with your own hands. Did you kill Enrico?
Really?
Yeah, like this.
Unless we're talking Bebop. I would never disrespect Bebop. Don't you fucking dare get me twisted. Denture in space with 90s Cell-inspired graphics. Get to work, fellas. Denture was great though. Definite Game of the Year contender. Games have felt a little bit dry at the start this year, I can't lie. But with this, we're kind of at the start of the we're so back era. You know, Endocopia comes out like next week. Big Walk's coming out soon. Nonolith and Elation for the Wonderbox, that's coming around. The Avatar also comes out soon, although it's a little bit poisoned. Fuck it. Gaming's back. Load up Team Fortress 2 and dump a whole paycheck on CS2 skins. It's big gaming autumn. He's gonna come from short, isn't he?
Yeah.
Don't forget to give Denture a look too.